Hey guys, tonight we are going to travel high into the Andes Mountains, to a place where the air is thin and the ground is steep. We are going to participate in one of the most fascinating, precarious, and strangely comforting traditions in human history. We are going to build a bridge. But this is not a bridge made of steel beams, concrete, or heavy rivets. It is not built by cranes or industrial machinery. This is a bridge woven entirely by hand, using nothing but dried grass. It hangs over a deep, rushing river gorge, swaying gently in the wind, held together by friction, tension, and the collective willpower of an entire community. You are going to walk the high slopes to harvest the raw materials. You will sit in the sun and twist thousands of blades of grass into thin cords. You will watch as those cords are braided into ropes, and those ropes are plaited into massive, heavy cables thick enough to hold the weight of a village. It is a feat of engineering that looks impossible, yet it has worked for centuries. You probably believe that a bridge made of lawn clippings would snap under the weight of a llama, let alone a person. But the physics of these grass fibers are stronger than you might expect. Before you get too comfortable, and possibly fall asleep halfway through, tap like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy this odd mix of boredom and history. It keeps the channel alive and the stories just sleepy enough to help you drift off again next time. I would love to know where you are drifting off from tonight. Maybe you are tucked into bed in a rainy city, or maybe you are lounging on a sofa on a sunny afternoon. Let me know your location and your local time in the comments. It is always nice to see how far these stories travel. Now, dim the lights, let the world outside grow quiet, and turn on a fan if you like that soft, steady hum in the background. Let your shoulders loosen and your breathing slow. This is your time to drift. No rush, no deadlines, no noise. Just you, a little warmth in the air, and the faint whisper of history waiting to unfold. So, settle in, and let's ease gently into tonight's journey together. You are standing in the doorway of a small stone hut, watching the first gray light of dawn creep over the jagged peaks of the Andes. The air up here, over 12,000 feet above sea level, is so crisp and cold that it feels like it has been stored in a freezer for 1,000 years before being released just for you this morning. It hits your face with a bracing sharpness that wakes you up more effectively than any cup of coffee could. Inside the hut, the air is still thick with the warmth of sleeping bodies and the faint, smoky scent of a cooking fire that died down hours ago. But out here, the world is vast, silent, and chilled. You wrap your thick woolen poncho tighter around your shoulders. It is heavy, woven from the wool of alpacas that graze on these very slopes, and it smells faintly of lanolin and wood smoke. It is the kind of garment that feels like a heavy blanket you can wear, which is exactly what you need when the morning temperature hovers just above freezing. You take a deep breath, and the thin air fills your lungs. Breathing up here takes a little more intention than it does down at sea level. You have to earn your oxygen. It is a slow, rhythmic process that forces you to calm down whether you want to or not. Today is a special day. It is the beginning of the renewal. For hundreds of years, your community and the neighboring villages have maintained a single crossing over the deep Apurimac River gorge. It is a suspension bridge woven entirely from grass, a golden thread connecting two sides of a canyon that would otherwise be separated by a perilous journey. But grass, unlike stone or iron, does not last forever. The sun dries it out, the rain softens it, and the constant traffic of people and animals wears it down. So, once a year, every year, the old bridge must be cut down, and a new one must be built from scratch. It sounds like a frantic task, rebuilding a vital piece of infrastructure in just a few days. But as you step out onto the hard, packed dirt path, you feel no sense of hurry. The mountains do not encourage rushing. If you run up these slopes, your lungs will burn and your head will spin. The only way to move here is with a slow, deliberate plod. 1 foot, then the other. It is a pace that sets the rhythm for your entire life. You look down into the valley. Far below, deep in the shadows of the canyon, you can hear the faint roar of the river. From this height, the water looks like a turbulent white ribbon, churning and crashing against the rocks. That river is the reason you are awake so early. It is the obstacle you must conquer. But you are not going down to the river yet. To build the bridge, you first have to climb. The material you need grows high above the village, on the cold, windswept plateaus where the trees give way to scrub and rock. It is a specific type of sturdy, bunching grass called kugoya. It is tough, fibrous, and remarkably resilient. It is not the soft green grass you might find in a suburban backyard, perfect for a picnic. This grass is a survivor. It grows in harsh winds and poor soil, and that struggle makes it strong. It is sharp enough to slice your finger if you handle it carelessly, and tough enough to hold a suspension bridge together. You begin the trek up the narrow mountain trail. The path is ancient, worn smooth by generations of sandals. The stones are uneven, but your feet know the way. You fall into line with others from your village. There are neighbors, cousins, and friends, all moving in the same direction. Everyone is bundled in colorful wools, reds, deep blues, and earthy browns, standing out against the gray and green of the landscape. There is a quiet murmur of greeting, but mostly people walk in silence. The steep incline demands your breath, leaving little room for idle chatter. As you climb, the sun begins to breach the eastern peaks. It spills golden light across the valley, instantly warming the back of your neck. The difference between the shade and the sun in the Andes is dramatic. In the shadow, you shiver. In the sun, you feel a gentle, baking heat. You unzip your mood a little, letting the warmth seep into your muscles. The light illuminates the dust kicking up around your boots. It is a dry, powdery dust that coats everything in a fine, pale layer. You pass terraced fields carved into the side of the mountain like giant green stairs. These terraces have been here since the time of the ancestors, holding the soil in place and allowing potatoes and maize to grow on slopes that look too steep for farming. You see the dark green leaves of the potato plants fluttering in the morning breeze. It is a reminder of how much work goes into simply existing up here. Everything, from the food you eat to the bridge you cross, is the result of immense, cooperative effort. Nothing comes easy, but because everyone works together, nothing feels impossible either. After an hour of steady climbing, the terrain levels out slightly. You have reached the high puna, the cold grasslands that sit closer to the sky. The view from here is staggering. You can see for miles, endless ridges of mountains fading into blue and purple in the distance. The clouds seem close enough to touch, drifting by like slow, silent ships. It is a landscape that makes you feel very small, but in a comforting way. The mountains were here long before you, and they will be here long after you. Your job today is just to cut the grass. The grass is everywhere. It grows in large, spiky clumps that look like bad haircuts sprouting from the earth. It has turned a pale, golden straw color in the dry season. This is the harvest. You find a good spot, a patch of thick, healthy bunches, and you drop your heavy sack to the ground. You are not alone. The hillside is dotted with people from the 4 communities responsible for the bridge. Everyone has a specific role, and today, the role is simply to gather. You kneel on the hard ground. The earth is cold against your knees, damp with the morning dew that hasn't quite evaporated yet. You take out your tool. It is a simple, curved sickle, though some of the older men still use a sharp stone or a piece of bone, claiming it cuts cleaner. You grasp a handful of the coarse grass near the base. The blades are stiff and scratchy against your palm. You have to be firm. If you are tentative, the grass fights back. You pull it taut and slice through the tough stems with a rhythmic swish of your blade. The sound is satisfying. It is a dry, crisp tearing noise that repeats over and over across the hillside. It sounds like 100 people eating toast very quietly. You cut a handful, then another, piling the loose grass onto a woven cloth spread out beside you. The smell of the cut grass hits you immediately. It is a sweet, dusty scent, like hay stored in a sunlit barn, but sharper and wilder. It smells like the high altitude itself, clean, dry, and earthy. You settle into the work. It is repetitive, monotonous labor, and that is exactly what makes it so relaxing. You do not have to make any decisions. You do not have to answer any emails or wonder what to make for dinner. You just see grass, grab grass, cut grass. Your mind empties out. The rhythm takes over. Grab, slice, pile. Grab, slice, pile. Your hands move with a memory of their own. You find yourself zoning out, watching a hawk circle lazily in the blue sky above, drifting on thermal currents without flapping its wings. Occasionally, you pause to wipe your forehead. Even in the cool air, the work generates heat. You look around at your neighbors. A few yards away, an older woman is working with incredible speed. Her hands a blur of motion. She has probably harvested grass for 50 bridge renewals. She pauses to catch your eye and offers a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement of the shared effort. There is no need for a performance review here. The pile of grass grows, and that is all that matters. Historians still argue about exactly how many of these bridges once existed across the empire. Some say there were thousands, part of the vast road network that connected the coast to the jungle. Others think they were rare and special. Today, this is the last remaining one of its kind. Kept alive, not because there aren't modern bridges nearby. There is a concrete bridge just a valley over, but because the act of building it is what holds the community together. You are not just harvesting construction material, you are harvesting a connection to the people next to you. You reach for your water skin. The water is cool and tastes faintly of the clay vessel. You take a long drink and sit back on your heels for a moment to stretch your back. The sun is higher now, directly overhead. The shadows have shortened, hiding under the rocks. The wind picks up, rustling the millions of grass blades around you. It creates a soft, hissing sound, like the static of an old radio, blocking out the rest of the world. It is a form of white noise that nature perfected millions of years before sound machines were invented. You notice a small beetle navigating the forest of grass stalks near your knee. It climbs over a rock, pauses, and then scurries under a leaf. You watch it for a full minute. In your normal life, you would never have the patience to watch a beetle. But up here, time feels different. It stretches out. There is no clock ticking on the wall. The only measure of time is the pile of golden grass rising beside you. You return to the cutting. Your pile is getting large now. It needs to be bundled. You gather the loose stalks, aligning them so they all face the same way. This is important. If the grass is messy, the rope will be lumpy, and nobody wants a lumpy bridge. You take a few longer strands and twist them into a makeshift tie, wrapping it around the bundle to hold it together. You pull it tight, listening to the dry crunch of the fibers compressing. The bundle is surprisingly heavy. It is dense with the energy of the earth. You stack your bundle with the others. The goal is to create a stack tall enough to justify the trip back down. You continue cutting. The repetition becomes almost hypnotic. Your world narrows down to the patch of ground in front of you. You notice the different shades of gold in the grass, some pale as straw, some darkening to amber near the roots. You notice the texture of the soil dry and crumbly, mixed with small pebbles. A gentle joke runs through the group that the hardest part of building the bridge is not the engineering, but the laundry. You are kneeling in dirt, covered in grass dust, and sweating under layers of wool. By the end of the day, you will look like a walking haystack, but nobody minds. There is a freedom in getting dirty, in working with your hands until they are rough and stained green and brown. It is a simple, honest tiredness that settles into your bones. As the afternoon wears on, the light begins to change again. The sharp clarity of midday softens into a warmer, hazier glow. The mountains cast long, dramatic shadows across the valleys. It is time to head down. You cannot leave the grass up here overnight. The dew frost might dampen it too much. It needs to be dry for the twisting. You gather your bundles. You hoist the large stack onto your back, securing it with a woven strap that goes across your chest or forehead. It is heavy, awkward, and smells intensely of the field. You look like a giant, walking tuft of grass. You stand up, adjusting the weight, feeling your calf muscles engage to stabilize you. The walk down is faster than the walk up, but it requires more focus. Gravity is both your friend and your enemy. You have to place your feet carefully on the loose stones. The weight on your back pushes you forward, urging you to speed up, but you resist. You take it slow. You join the line of people descending the mountain. From a distance, it must look like a line of ants carrying crumbs, winding down the vast, brown slopes. The conversation picks up a little now that the hard climbing is done. People joke about who cut the most grass or whose bundle is the neatest. There is talk of the meal waiting in the village. Potatoes, corn, maybe a stew. The thought of hot food makes your stomach rumble. You realize you are incredibly hungry. It is the good kind of hunger, the kind earned by fresh air and physical work. As you descend, the air gets slightly thicker, warmer, and easier to breathe. You pass the potato fields again. The village comes into view below, a cluster of earth, colored roofs nestled in the valley. It looks safe and inviting. You can see wisps of smoke rising from chimneys, signaling that the evening fires are being lit. You reach the outskirts of the village. The designated storage area is a dry, flat courtyard protected from the wind. You drop your bundle onto the growing pile. It lands with a soft, muffled thump. The pile is massive, a mountain of gold that mirrors the mountains around you. It is hard to believe that this chaotic heap of dry vegetation will soon become a sophisticated suspension bridge. Right now, it just looks like fodder for llamas. You stretch your arms, feeling the stiffness in your shoulders. Your hands are tired, your fingernails dirty. You brush the stray pieces of grass from your poncho. You find bits of it everywhere, in your hair, in your socks. You will probably be finding pieces of ichu grass in your house for the next 6 months. The sun dips behind the western ridge, and the temperature plummets immediately. The blue of the sky deepens into twilight indigo. The first stars begin to prick through the darkness. You make your way back to your stone hut. The village is buzzing with a quiet energy. The harvest is done. The raw material is gathered. The first step is complete. Inside your home, the air is warm. You sit on a low wooden bench and lean back against the wall. Your legs feel heavy and pleasant, buzzing with the day's effort. You close your eyes for a moment, and you can still see the golden grass waving in the wind. You can still hear the dry swish of the sickle. Tomorrow, the real magic begins. Tomorrow, you will take this chaos of loose grass and begin to impose order upon it. You will sit in the village square with your neighbors and begin the transformation. But for now, the work is finished. The mountain has given what it needed to give. You have carried it down. You eat your meal slowly, savoring the heat of the food. The day fades. The village grows quiet as families retreat indoors. Outside, the wind picks up, whistling through the stone alleys, but you are safe inside. You are ready to rest. You listen to the silence of the high Andes, a silence so deep it feels like a heavy blanket pulled up to your chin. You are ready for the next stage, but first you need to sleep. You are sitting on the hard, packed earth of the village square. The sun is up, but the morning chill still clings to the stone walls of the houses around you. Today is not about climbing or hauling heavy loads. Today is about sitting. It is about patience. It is about doing one small, simple thing over and over again until your hands move without you telling them to. In front of you lies a pile of the koya, grass you harvested yesterday. It looks a bit like a messy haystack that has been brought in for a haircut. Your job, and the job of every single person sitting in this circle, is to turn this chaotic pile of vegetation into something coherent. You are going to make cord. You pick up a handful of grass. It feels dry and brittle in your fingers, stiff like uncooked spaghetti, but much more flexible. You take a few stalks, maybe 8 or 10, and you begin to twist. You rub them between your palms, rolling them together. The motion is specific, a firm, downward roll with the heel of your hand, compressing the fibers, forcing them to bind. Then, a quick upward flick to tighten the twist. Roll down, flick up. Roll down, flick up. At first, the grass fights you. It wants to spring back into its original shape. It pokes your palms and slips out of your grip. But you are stubborn. You add a little spit to your hands, just enough moisture to make the fibers tacky, and you keep rolling. Slowly, the loose stalks surrender. They mesh together, locking into a tight, uniform spiral. You have created about 6 inches of cord. It is thin, greenish gold and surprisingly strong. But you are not done. You are never done. As the end of your twisted section gets thin, you reach into your pile with your free hand and grab another pinch of grass. You feed the new stalks into the twisting end of the old ones. You overlap them carefully, burying the new start inside the old finish, and you keep rolling. The transition disappears into the twist. The cord grows longer. This is the rhythm of the day. It is a community-wide assembly line, but it feels more like a social club. You are sitting cross-legged on a woven blanket, shoulder to shoulder with your neighbors. To your left is an old man whose hands look like gnarled roots. He is twisting cord without even looking at it, his eyes closed as he enjoys the morning sun. To your right is a mother with a baby strapped to her back in a colorful shawl. She rocks gently back and forth, the rhythm of her twisting lulling the child to sleep. The sound of the square is a soft, collective rustle. It is the sound of 100 people rubbing dry grass together. Shh, shh. It sounds like the ocean, or like wind moving through a dry cornfield. Underneath that, there is the murmur of low conversation. People are gossiping, telling stories, or complaining about their knees. It is the original podcast, live and unedited. You settle into the groove. Your hands start to find the flow. Grab, feed, twist. Grab, feed, twist. The cord spools out from your hands, piling up in your lap like a sleeping snake. You stop thinking about the technique. Your fingers just know the texture of the grass. They know exactly how much pressure to apply. If you push too hard, the grass crumbles. If you are too gentle, the cord is loose and weak. You find the sweet spot, the perfect tension. Historians debate whether this specific braiding technique was a state secret of the Inca or just common knowledge that every peasant knew from birth. It seems likely that everyone knew it. In a world without Home Depot, if you needed a rope, you made a rope. If you needed a bridge, you made a bridge. It is a level of self-sufficiency that is terrifying to modern minds, but deeply comforting in practice. You are not waiting for a delivery. You are the factory. The sun moves across the sky, warming the stones of the plaza. You shift your weight, stretching your legs. Your palms are starting to feel raw. The grass is abrasive, filled with silica that acts like microscopic sandpaper. By the end of the day, your hands will be green, sticky, and sore. But there is a peculiar satisfaction in it. You watch the pile of raw grass shrinking and the pile of finished cord growing. You are creating order out of disorder. Occasionally, a supervisor, usually one of the bridge masters or chakarawaja, walks by. He picks up a section of your cord, gives it a sharp tug to test its strength, and inspects the uniformity of the twist. He nods approvingly and moves on. There is no grade, but there is pride. You do not want to be the person who made the weak bit of rope that snaps when the llamas are crossing. You reach for a small clay cup of chicha, a fermented corn beer that is being passed around. It is thick, sour, and refreshing. It cuts the dust in your throat. You take a sip and pass it to the neighbor on your left. The shared drink is part of the ritual. It blurs the line between work and celebration. You are working hard, yes, but you are also hanging out with your friends on a sunny day, drinking beer and playing with grass. It could be worse. You look around the square. It is a sea of activity. Children are running around the edges, fetching more grass or rolling up finished cords into neat balls. Dogs are sleeping in the patches of shade, occasionally lifting a head to bark at a passing fly. It is a scene of total domestic tranquility, yet the purpose is grand engineering. As your cord gets long, maybe 20 or 30 feet, you stop to wind it. You wrap it around your hand and elbow, creating a neat hank, just like winding an extension cord. You tie it off and toss it onto the finished pile. It lands with a soft thump. Then you pick up a fresh handful of grass and start again. Roll, twist, feed. You start to notice the variations in the grass. Some stalks are stiffer, some are softer. You learn to blend them, mixing the stiff with the soft to create a balanced cord. It is a tactile language you are learning in real time. You are becoming a connoisseur of dried weeds. There is a meditative quality to the repetition. Your mind wanders. You think about the river below, waiting for its new bridge. You think about the people who sat in this exact spot 500 years ago, making the exact same hand motions, talking about the exact same things. Weather, crops, children. The technology has not changed because it does not need to change. It works. There is no app for this. There is no upgrade. There is just grass and hands. By midday, the pile of finished cord in the center of the square is becoming impressive. It looks like a chaotic nest of green snakes. This thin cord, called kiswa, is the fundamental building block of the entire bridge. It is the atom. Everything else, the thick ropes, the floor mats, the handrails, will be made from this. If the kiswa is bad, the bridge is bad. So you keep twisting. Your hands are now fully stained a deep, chlorophyll green. You try to wipe them on your trousers, but it just transfers the stain. You accept your fate. You are becoming one with the plant kingdom. The smell of the crushed grass is intense now, a sweet, grassy perfume that hangs heavy in the warm air. It smells like the end of summer. A group of teenagers is sitting near the fountain, racing each other to see who can twist the fastest. Their hands are a blur, their laughter ringing out. The older folks watch them with amusement, knowing that speed is good, but consistency is better. The bridge does not care how fast you made the rope. It only cares if the rope holds. As the afternoon light turns golden and slanted, the work begins to slow down. The piles of raw grass are almost gone. The piles of cord are enormous. You finish your last length, tapering the end off neatly. You wend it up, tie it, and throw it onto the mound. You sit back, flexing your cramping fingers. You feel a deep, dull ache in your forearms. It is the good ache of honest work. You stand up, your knees popping. The village square is transformed. It is no longer covered in loose hay. It is filled with potential energy. Thousands of yards of cord, thousands of hours of human labor, stored in these humble coils. The bridge master stands in the center, looking over the hall. He seems pleased. He says something in Quechua, a low murmur of approval that ripples through the crowd. The first stage of transformation is complete. The grass is no longer just vegetation. It has been processed. It is now material. You walk home as the sun sets. The stone streets are cooling down. You can smell wood smoke again as fires are lit for the evening meal. You look at your hands. They are rough, stained, and tired. You rub your thumb over your fingertips, feeling the calluses that have hardened just in the last few hours. You feel capable. You feel connected to the earth and to your neighbors. You wash your hands in a basin of cold water, watching the green dust swirl away. Though the stain remains, It is a badge of honor. Tonight, you will sleep deeply. The repetitive motion of the twisting has lulled your brain into a state of calm. You close your eyes and you can still feel the grass rolling between your palms. Roll, flick, roll, flick. It is a rhythm that will follow you into your dreams. You lie in your bed, listening to the wind whistle outside. You think about the thin cords you made today. Alone, one of them could be snapped by a child. But tomorrow, they will be joined together. Tomorrow, they will become something stronger than the sum of their parts. Tomorrow, the twisting turns into braiding. But for now, the cords sit in the square, waiting in the moonlight, coiled and ready. And you drift off, your hands finally still, resting on the heavy wool blanket. The sun rises again over the Andes, but the atmosphere in the village square has shifted. Yesterday was calm, repetitive, almost meditative. It was the day of individual effort, where everyone sat in their own space and focused on their own hands. Today, the energy is different. Today is about connection. Today, the thin, fragile cords you twisted yesterday will be transformed into the muscles of the bridge. You stand in the plaza, a cup of hot herbal tea warming your stained hands. The square has been cleared. The chaotic piles of small kiswa cords have been organized. Wooden stakes have been driven into the hard earth at opposite ends of the long, narrow streets leading into the square. The village has turned itself into a machine, a giant human-powered rope walk. This is the day of the braiding. The engineering challenge is simple but daunting, Zai. How do you turn a piece of grass string, barely the thickness of a pencil, into a cable thick enough to support 1,000 pounds? The answer is exponential growth. You group the little cords to make a medium rope. You group the medium ropes to make a big rope. You group the big ropes to make a massive cable. It is a pyramid scheme of structural integrity. You are assigned to a team. There are no solo artists today. You take your place at one end of the street. Your job is to hold the tension. A group of men stands at the far end, 50 yards away. Between you, stretched out along the dusty cobblestones like ley lines, are dozens of the thin cords you made yesterday. They look impossibly long and tangled, but the bridge masters know exactly what they are doing. The process begins. The master gives a signal, a sharp whistle or a shout. You grab a bundle of about 30 thin cords. They feel heavy and unwieldy in your grip. You are not twisting them with your fingers anymore. You are twisting with your whole body. You lean back, bracing your feet against the stones. The men at the other end do the same. The cords pull taut, humming with tension. Then, the winding starts. It is a coordinated dance. You have to rotate the bundle, twisting it tighter and tighter. But you cannot do it alone. Someone is feeding the twist. Someone is holding the tension. And someone is walking down the length of the rope, ensuring the twist is even. It looks like a tug of war where nobody wins, but everyone gets tired. The sound of the work changes. Yesterday it was a soft rustle. Today, it is a low, rhythmic thrum. It is the sound of heavy fibers grinding against each other, compressing, locking into place. You can hear the groan of the ropes as they tighten. It is a sound that makes you feel safe. If the rope is groaning, it means it is fighting back. It means it is alive with tension. You watch the thin cords merge. 30 strands become one medium rope. It is about the thickness of your wrist now. It looks like a snake that has just eaten a very large meal. Lumpy, textured, and potent. You coil this new rope carefully. It is stiff and hard to manage. It fights you like a wild animal. You have to wrestle it into a coil, pinning it down with your weight. But you are not done. This wrist, thick rope is just the middle step. The real main event is the creation of the primary cables, the mother ropes. These are the monsters. These are the giants that will span the canyon and hold the floor of the bridge. To make a mother rope, you take 3 of the wrist, thick ropes you just made, and you braid them together. This requires serious manpower. It is no longer a job for sitting. It is a job for having. You and 20 other people line up along the street. The 3 heavy ropes are laid out. The braiding begins. It is not the delicate braiding of hair. It is wrestling. You have to physically lift one heavy rope over the other, hauling it across, pulling it tight. Lift, cross, pull. Lift, cross, pull. You are sweating. The sun is beating down. Dust is flying everywhere. The smell of the grass is overpowering now, hot, dry, and intense. As you work, you realize the sheer scale of what you are building. The mother rope is emerging. It is the size of a human thigh. It is a massive, golden serpent of grass, over 100 feet long. It looks prehistoric. It looks like something that belongs on a wooden sailing ship, or in a dinosaur movie. You run your hand along it. It is rock hard. You could hit it with a hammer, and the hammer would bounce off. It feels less like vegetation and more like wood. There is a specific rhythm to the heavy braiding. The team moves in sync. Heave, ho! Heave, ho! The chanting helps keep the timing. If one person pulls too early, the braid gets lumpy. If someone pulls too late, the tension is lost. You are all part of a single organism. A centipede with 40 legs and 20 pairs of hands, all working to create this one object. Historians often marvel at Incan stonework, at how the rocks fit together so perfectly without mortar. But this rope work is arguably just as impressive. It is the same principle. Perfect fitting, perfect tension, achieved through collective labor. The mortar. Here is friction. The grass fibers grab onto each other with microscopic hooks, refusing to let go. The tighter you pull, the harder they grab. The bridge literally gets stronger the more stress you put on it. By midday, the village square is filled with these giants. There are 4 massive cables for the floor of the bridge, and 2 slightly thinner ones for the handrails. They lie coiled in the sun like sleeping dragons. They are terrifyingly heavy. It takes 50 men just to lift one of them. You take a break for lunch. You sit on one of the massive cables, using it as a bench. It is surprisingly comfortable, firm but with a little give. You eat your boiled potatoes and corn, wiping the sweat from your forehead. You look at the cable beneath you. It is hard to believe that yesterday, this was just a pile of loose grass on a mountain slope. Now, it is a piece of heavy infrastructure. The transformation is complete. The afternoon is spent inspecting and finishing. The bridge masters walk up and down the length of the great cables. They are looking for weak spots, for loose braids. They are the quality control engineers. If they find a section they don't like, they don't write a report. They stop, they call a team over, and they fix it. Maybe they add an extra layer of wrapping, or they tighten a splice. There is no good enough. It has to be perfect. Your life will depend on this rope tomorrow. They also prepare the padding. The great cables will rest on stone abutments at the edge of the canyon. If the grass rubs directly against the sharp rocks, it will fray and snap. So, you help prepare thick mats of raw leather and dense cactus fiber. These will act as cushions, protecting the throat of the cables where they endure the most stress. It is a thoughtful, tender detail in a landscape of brute force. You are bandaging the bridge before it is even hurt. As the sun begins to lower, the mood shifts from industrious to celebratory. The hard part of the fabrication is over. The ropes are made. They are ready. The village elders come out with offerings. They pour a little chicha onto the coils of rope, a blessing for strength and safety. They murmur prayers to the apus, the mountain spirits, asking them to hold the bridge steady for another year. You feel a strange affection for the rope. You helped make it. Your sweat is in it. Your skin cells are probably ground into the fibers. It is personal. You pat the rough, golden flank of the cable as you walk by. Hold tight. You think, don't let me down. The logistics for tomorrow are discussed. Moving these cables down to the river is going to be a nightmare. They weigh thousands of pounds. The path is steep, narrow, and winding. Gravity will want to pull them down too fast. Friction will want to stop them completely. It will be a battle, but that is a problem for tomorrow. For now, the village relaxes. The tension of the day, both physical and metaphorical, dissipates. The ropes are finished. They sit in the square, glowing amber in the sunset light. They look beautiful. They are a testament to what people can do when they stop arguing and start pulling together. You walk back to your hut. Your body feels different today. Yesterday your hands were tired. Today your back, your shoulders, and your legs are tired. You feel heavy, grounded. You feel strong. You have spent the day wrestling with giants, and you won. You clean the green stain from your hands again, though it is becoming a permanent part of your pigmentation. You eat a hearty dinner, maybe a stew with a bit of dried meat tonight, to rebuild the muscle. You sit by the fire, staring into the flames. You can hear the wind howling through the peaks above. Tomorrow, the action moves to the gorge. Tomorrow, the old bridge dies, and the new bridge is born. It is the most dramatic day of the festival. But tonight, the village is quiet. The heavy coils of rope sleep in the square, waiting for their journey. You crawl into your bed, pulling the blankets up. You close your eyes, and in the darkness, you can still feel the rhythm of the braiding. Lift, cross, pull. Lift, cross, pull. It rocks you to sleep like a boat on a gentle swell. You drift off, knowing that you have built the path that will carry you across the sky. The sun is already high and fierce by the time you reach the edge of the canyon. The walk down from the village was a strange parade. Hundreds of people maneuvering the massive python, like cables down the narrow, winding switchbacks. But now the hard transport is done. The new ropes are coiled and waiting on the dusty plateau above the gorge. Now, attention turns to the river. You stand at the very lip of the abyss. The Apurimac River roars below, a churning ribbon of gray, white water that looks angry and unforgiving. The sound is constant, a low-frequency rumble that you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears. It creates a wall of sound that separates you from the world above. Down here, there is only the gorge, the wind, and the bridge. Stretched across the gap, sagging gracefully in the middle, is the old bridge. It has hung there for exactly 1 year. From a distance, it still looks noble, a golden hammock suspended in the void. But as you get closer, you see the toll that time has taken. The bright, fresh gold of the grass has faded to a dull, weathered gray. The ropes are frayed and fuzzy, like an old sweater that has been washed too many times. The handrails are sagging a little lower than they should. The walkway, once tight and springy, dips deep in the center. It has served well. It has carried llamas, children, farmers, and tourists. It has withstood the intense UV radiation of the high Andes, the drenching rains of the wet season, and the drying winds of winter. But its time is up. In the logic of the Andes, you do not wait for things to break before you fix them. You renew them while they are still standing. It is a philosophy of safety through cycles, not durability. You watch as the bridge master approaches the stone abutments on the near side. These are massive masonry structures built by the Incas centuries ago and still perfectly solid. They are the anchors. The old ropes are wrapped around heavy stone beams buried deep within these foundations. The master inspects the knots. They are tight, hardened by a year of tension. This is the moment of release. It is a funeral and a birth happening at the same time. There is no heavy machinery to dismantle the bridge. There is just a man with a knife. He climbs out onto the structure. The crowd goes silent. The wind whistles through the canyon, playing the old bridge like a giant out of tune harp. The master kneels. He begins to cut. He doesn't just hack at it. He severs the lashing cords that hold the main cables to the stone anchors. It takes effort. The grass, even old and weathered, is tough. He saws back and forth. You can see the tension in the rope fighting him. It wants to stay connected. Then, snap. The first cable gives way. It doesn't fall immediately into the river because it is still held by the other cables and the woven floor. But the bridge shudders. It lurches sideways, looking suddenly drunk and unstable. A gasp goes through the crowd, followed by a murmur of excitement. The structure is compromised. The integrity is gone. He moves to the next cable. Snap. The bridge sags lower. It looks sad now, like a broken toy. It hangs crookedly, twisting in the wind. The master works his way across the anchor points. With each cut, the bridge loses its will to fight gravity. It droops. It sways. Finally, the last anchor on your side is severed. The bridge is now only attached to the far side of the canyon. Gravity takes over. The near end of the bridge plummets. It swings down in a massive, slow motion arc, crashing into the canyon wall with a dry crunch of grass against rock, then sliding down towards the water. The crowd cheers. It is a sound of release. The old year is gone. The old path is broken. For the first time in 12 months, the two sides of the gorge are separated. You are stranded on your side, and your neighbors are stranded on theirs. The only way across is through the air, and right now, there is nothing but air. The old bridge hangs vertically now, trailing into the river like a long, gray beard. The current grabs the end of it, tugging at it. On the far side, the other team is already at work. They cut the anchors on their end. The entire structure, tons of grass, rope, and leather, drops into the river. It hits the water with a surprisingly small splash. It floats for a moment, a tangled mat of gray fibers, before the current catches it. You watch it drift downstream. It moves fast, bobbing in the white water, heading towards the Amazon. It will decompose, returning to the earth, feeding the soil that will eventually grow more grass. It is the perfect ecological cycle. No plastic, no scrap metal, No landfill. Just grass returning to water. Now the gorge is empty. It looks wider without the bridge. It looks terrifying. The gap seems to have grown. You realize how much that thin strip of woven grass mattered. It civilized this landscape. Without it, the canyon is just a wound in the earth. But there is no time for philosophical contemplation. The void must be filled. The new ropes are waiting. You turn back to the pile of fresh cables. They look vibrant and golden against the dusty ground. They smell sweet and strong. This is the moment of the shoot. You have to get a lead line across the gorge so you can pull the heavy cables over. In the old days, maybe they used a sling to fire a stone with a thin string attached. Or maybe a brave climber scrambled down the cliffs and swam the river. Today, the process is a bit more refined but still relies on basic physics. A light, strong rope is thrown, or sometimes carried by a local who knows the secret paths down the cliff face and crosses on a makeshift raft to the other side. Once the connection is made, the real work begins. You are holding the end of a light rope. The team on the other side is holding the other end. You tie your end to the first of the massive mother cables. You signal to the other side. Hiv! The cable begins to move. It slithers over the edge of the cliff like a giant snake leaving its den. It is heavy. It drags against the rocks, kicking up dust. You and your team are guiding it, feeding it out, making sure it doesn't get snagged. It drops into the void, sagging deep into the canyon. This is the trickiest part. If the cable dips too low, it hits the water. If it hits the water, it gets heavy, wet, and practically impossible to pull back up. You have to keep the tension high. You have to keep it dry. Pull! 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 The chant echoes off the canyon walls. You can see the team on the other side. Tiny figures in colorful ponchos, straining against the weight. They are walking backwards, holding the lead rope, dragging the heavy gold cable up toward them. You watch the head of the cable rise. It climbs out of the shadow of the gorge, inching its way up the opposite cliff face. It looks like a living thing struggling to climb. Finally, it crests the edge. The other team grabs it, cheering. They drag it to the stone anchor and loop it around. 1 down, 5 to go. The process repeats. It is a slow, grueling rhythm. Feed the cable, watch it dip, watch it rise, cheer when it lands. The sun beats down. The wind tries to blow the cable sideways, tangling them. You have to be vigilant. But as the cables span the gap, the bridge begins to take shape. It is a skeleton now. 4 thick cables hang side by side at the bottom. These will be the floor. 2 thinner cables hang higher up. These will be the handrails. They droop in deep, catenary curves. Beautiful mathematical lines drawn in grass against the sky. They are not tight yet. They hang loose and lazy. The next step is the tensioning. This is pure brute force. On your side, the cables are wrapped around the stone beams. But they need to be pulled taut. You cannot just pull them with your hands. They are too heavy. The tension required is immense. The men gather around the anchor point. They use large wooden pry bars, levering against the stone to crank the ropes tighter. It is a dangerous dance. The ropes are under thousands of pounds of tension. If a rope snaps or a bar slips, it could be catastrophic. The air is thick with focus. The joking stops. The only sound is the grunt of effort and the creaking of the ropes stretching. Creak. The sound is visceral. It is the sound of the grass fibers compressing, locking, screaming under the strain. You watch the cables out over the gorge. Slowly, the deep sag begins to flatten. The curve lifts. The belly of the bridge rises out of the danger zone. The bridge master eyes the curve. He is not using a laser level or a theodolite. He is using his eye and his memory. He knows exactly how the bridge should hang. Too tight, and it becomes rigid and brittle, prone to snapping in a high wind. Too loose, and it swings too much, making the crossing terrifying. It has to be just right, a gentle smile of a curve. "More! A little more!" he shouts. The men heave on the pry bars. Muscles bulge. Veins pop. The rope groans one last time and then sings with a high, tight note when struck. It is done. The master signals to stop. They tie it off, securing the knot with expert speed. You step back, wiping sweat from your eyes. You look at the gorge. The skeleton is complete. 6 golden lines slice through the air, connecting the two worlds again. It looks fragile, impossibly thin against the massive scale of the mountains. But you know what went into those ropes. You know the millions of twists, the braids, the sweat. You know they are strong. The sun is starting to dip behind the peaks, casting the gorge in deep purple shadow. The wind picks up, cold and biting. The cables hum in the breeze, a ghostly Aeolian harp playing a low, mournful tune. The heavy lifting is over for today. The bridge is strung, but it is not walkable. It is just tightropes over a death drop. Tomorrow, the brave ones, the weavers, will walk out onto those ropes to build the floor. It is the most dangerous job of the festival. But for now, you rest. You sit on the edge of the cliff, legs dangling over the side, safely, of course, and watch the last light fade from the new cables. They glow faintly in the twilight, a pale lattice against the dark rock. The river roars below, indifferent to your efforts. You feel a sense of awe. Not just at the engineering, but at the persistence. This bridge has been here, in one form or another, for 500 years. The materials change every year. The people change every generation. But the bridge remains. It is a permanent idea made of temporary things. You gather your tools. The cold is seeping into your bones. You walk back up the trail, toward the campfires flickering in the distance. You can smell dinner cooking. You are exhausted, but your spirit is high. The connection is restored. The gap is closed. The spider has spun its web across the void. As you walk, you look back one last time. The cables are barely visible now, just thin shadows against the stars. They look like scratches on the lens of the night sky. You smile. It's a good start. But tomorrow, you have to walk on it. The morning of the third day is quieter, more focused. The festive chaos of the rope hauling is gone. The heavy lifting is finished. Today is about precision, balance, and nerve. Today, the skeleton of the bridge becomes a body. You stand at the edge of the gorge again. The 6 cables, 4 for the floor, 2 for the handrails, are pulled taut across the gap. They look solid, shimmering in the early light, but they are still just ropes. There is no floor. There are no walls. To cross now, you would have to be an acrobat or a squirrel. But 2 men are preparing to do exactly that. These are the master weavers, the Chakaruwaja. They are the heroes of this story. They are usually older men, respected in the community, who have done this many times before. They stand at opposite ends of the bridge, one on your side, one on the far side. They are dressed in their traditional ponchos, but they have tied them tight around their waists to keep the fabric from snagging. They look calm, almost bored, as if they are about to weed a garden rather than walk out over 100-foot drop. You watch the master on your side. He steps up to the anchor point. He climbs onto the 4 thick floor cables. He doesn't walk on them like a tightrope walker. He shimmies. He straddles the cables, his feet finding purchase on the rough braids, his hands gripping the handrail cables that hang at chest height. He tests his weight. The cables dip slightly, accepting him. He carries a bundle of supplies on his back, wooden spacers and raw-wide lashings. He takes a deep breath, crosses himself, and begins to move out over the void. At the same time, the master on the other side does the same. They are working towards each other, destined to meet in the middle of the sky. Their first job is to structuralize the cables. Right now, the 4 floor cables are bunched together. To make a walkable surface, they need to be spread out flat. The master pulls out a wooden spacer, a sturdy branch cut to the width of the bridge. He jams it between the handrail cables and the floor cables, forcing them apart, creating a box shape. He lashes it tight with wet rawhide strips. As the rawhide dries in the sun, it will shrink, clamping the wood like a vise. He moves forward a few feet. He places another spacer. Lash, tie, tighten, move. It is slow, methodical work. You watch him inch away from the safety of the cliff. He is now hovering over the river. The wind buffets him, swaying the cables. You hold your breath every time he leans out to tie a knot, but he moves with a fluid confidence. He trusts the ropes. He trusts his knots. He trusts the grass. You are not just watching, you are helping. You are part of the support crew. Your job is to feed the material to him. The bridge needs a floor, and the floor is made of, you guessed it, more grass. Specifically, it is made of stiff, woody branches and rolls of woven brush that act as a sub-floor. You pass these bundles down the line. They are passed hand to hand until they reach the edge of the bridge. Then, a runner, a younger, agile man who acts as the master's assistant, scurries out onto the half-finished structure to deliver the materials. The master takes the brush. He lays it across the 4 floor cables. He weaves it in, tying it down. He is literally building the path in front of his feet. Step by step, the bridge becomes solid. He stands on the part he just built to build the next part. It is a perfect metaphor for life. You can only move forward on the foundation you just laid down. The sound of the work is different today. It is quieter. There is no chanting, no hewing, just the wind, the roar of the river, and the occasional shout of instruction from the master. More rawhide. Tighten that left side. You watch the 2 masters getting closer to each other. The man from the far side is working his way toward the center. The man from your side is doing the same. They are sewing the 2 halves of the canyon together. As they get further out, the bridge starts to feel the physics of the curve. They are walking downhill now, sliding slightly towards the center. The sag of the bridge means the middle is the lowest point. When they meet, they will be at the bottom of the arc, suspended directly over the wildest part of the river. You notice something interesting about the master's technique. He never looks down. His eyes are focused on his hands, on the knots, on the rope. He lives in a small world of immediate tactile feedback. If he looked down at the white water churning below, the vertigo might take him. So he ignores the abyss. He focuses on the grass. Historians speculate on how the Incas maintained such a vast network of these bridges without a standing army of engineers? The answer is right here. The knowledge wasn't centralized, it was distributed. Every village knew how to build its own infrastructure. It is the ultimate open-source technology. The blueprints are not in a library, they are in the muscle memory of these men. By midday, the masters are close. They are maybe 10 yards apart. The bridge is almost a continuous ribbon now. The crowd on the cliffs watches in silence. This is the critical moment. The joining of the center. The two men reach each other. They pause. They are suspended in the middle of nothing, holding onto grass ropes, smiling. They shake hands. A cheer goes up from both sides of the canyon. It is a moment of pure human connection. Two people, starting from opposite sides, overcoming the void to meet in the middle. It is so symbolic it feels scripted, but it is just engineering. They get back to work. The final gap needs to be floored. They work together now, weaving the last branches, tying the final knots. They overlap the materials, ensuring there is no seam, no weak point. They are meticulous. Finally, the floor is done. A continuous pathway of green brush spans the gorge. But they are not finished. Now comes the sidewalls. The bridge needs to be safe for everyone, for children, for drunk people, for nervous llamas. You cannot just have a floor and two handrails. You would fall right through the side. You need a fence. The masters work their way back towards the cliffs, weaving a lattice of smaller ropes between the floor and the handrails. They create a zigzag pattern, a net that encloses the walkway. They pull it tight. This adds stiffness to the bridge, making it feel less like a hammock and more like a tunnel. You help prepare the final touches. The floor of the bridge is a bit rough. It's made of sticks and brush. After all, it's not great for bare feet or delicate hooves. So, the final layer is a carpet. You have bundled hundreds of long, soft rolls of leaves and finer grass. These will be unrolled across the bridge to create a smooth, cushioned walking surface. It is the luxury finish. The masters reach the ends of the bridge. They climb off, stepping onto solid ground for the first time in hours. Their legs must be trembling, but they don't show it. They accept a cup of chicha and a round of applause. They look relieved. The dangerous part is over. Now, the bridge is technically built, but it is not yet open. It needs to be dressed. You grab a roll of the leaf carpet. You walk to the entrance of the bridge. You are about to take your first steps on the new structure. You feel a flutter of nerves. You saw it being built. You know it is strong. But your lizard brain sees a hole in the world and screams, "Don't do it." You step onto the anchor blocks. You grip the thick, braided handrails. They feel solid, hairy, and warm from the sun. You step onto the new floor. It feels soft, spongy. It gives under your weight, but it doesn't sag. It feels like walking on a very firm mattress. You take another step. The bridge sways slightly, a gentle, rhythmic motion. It is alive. It breathes with your movement. You unroll the carpet of leaves. You kick it out ahead of you. It unfurls, covering the rough sticks with a smooth green path. You walk on the carpet, smoothing it down. It feels civilized now. It looks like a garden path floating in the sky. Other workers join you. You line the sides of the bridge with fresh branches and flowers. It is a tradition. The bridge is not just a utility, it is a guest. You are decorating it for its birthday party. As you work your way to the middle, you stop. You are standing exactly where the masters shook hands. You look down through the weave of the floor. You can see glints of the river rushing below. You are hovering. The wind blows up through the floor, cooling your legs. It is a strange sensation, being held up by grass. You realize that if you took a pair of scissors and snipped the right chords, you would fall. But the friction holds. The complexity holds. The millions of individual blades of grass, weak on their own, are invincible together. You look at the canyon walls. They are layered with geology, stripes of red and gray rock. You see a condor gliding below you. That is a rare perspective. Looking down on a bird, you feel a sudden rush of gratitude for the people who figured this out thousands of years ago. Imagine being the first person to look at a pile of weeds and think, I bet I could walk across the sky on that. You finish laying the carpet. You reach the other side. You step off onto the stone abutment. You have crossed. You have walked on the new bridge. It works. The sun is setting now. The light is golden and rich. The bridge glows. It looks brand new, smelling of fresh cut hay and green leaves. It contrasts sharply with the gray rock of the canyon. It is a golden stitch in a gray fabric. The village is gathering for the inauguration. The mood is electric. The work is done. The stress is gone. Now, it is time to celebrate. You walk back across the bridge to your side. You walk with more confidence now. You let yourself sway with the rhythm of the span. You realize that the bridge has a natural frequency. If you fight it, it wobbles. If you relax and move with it, it is smooth. You have to surrender to the grass. You reach the solid ground. Your legs feel heavy, confused by the stability of the earth after the bouncing of the bridge. You join your friends. Everyone is smiling. There is a sense of collective accomplishment that is rare in modern life. You didn't just pay taxes for a bridge. You bled for it. You sweated for it. It belongs to you in a way that no asphalt highway ever could. The elders are preparing the final ceremony. The bridge must be blessed before it is officially open to the public. Smoke from incense pots wafts through the air. It smells of copal and sage. The sound of drums and flutes begins to drift over the noise of the river. You sit on a rock, watching the twilight settle over the gorge. The bridge is a silhouette now, a dark curve against the deep blue sky. It looks peaceful. It is ready to serve. It will hold the weight of the school children, the farmers, the tourists, the llamas. It will hold them all safe above the abyss for another year, until the sun and rain wear it down, and you have to do it all again. But that is a worry for next year. Tonight, there is only the satisfaction of the finished thing. You close your eyes and listen to the river. It sounds different now. It is no longer a barrier. It is just a view. The grass has conquered the water. You are now suspended in a world that exists nowhere else on earth. A narrow, swaying corridor of golden grass, hovering 100 feet above a crashing river. The initial adrenaline of the cable laying has faded, replaced by the intense, hyper-focused reality of the weave. While the heavy lifting of the massive cables is finished, the bridge is not yet a bridge. It is currently a skeleton, a loose collection of sagging ropes that would be terrifying for anyone but a master acrobat to cross. To turn this skeleton into a safe passage for grandmothers, children, and livestock, it must be woven shut. This is the phase of the work that requires the most nerve. It is one thing to pull a rope from the safety of a cliff edge. It is entirely another to spend 8 hours balancing on a bundle of shifting twigs in the middle of an empty void, tying knots while the wind tries to push you into the abyss. You watch the Chakaruwaja, the bridge masters, as they inch back out onto the structure. They move with a sliding, shuffling gait, keeping their center of gravity low. They are not just building a floor, they are knitting a tunnel. The design of the Swachaka bridge is specific. It is not a flat deck with rails, but a U shape, where the floor curves up to meet the sides. The structural integrity comes from lacing the floor cables to the handrail cables with a complex web of smaller ropes. This lacing distributes the weight, dampens the sway, and, most importantly, keeps you from falling out. You are part of the supply chain. Your job is to ferry the materials out to the masters. You strap a bundle of wet rawhide strips and thinner Kuswa cords to your back. You step onto the bridge. The sensation is immediate and disorienting. The floor under your feet is not solid ground. It is a living, breathing thing. It dips under your weight, and as you take a step, the energy ripples out ahead of you, causing the ropes to bounce. It feels like walking on a very long, very narrow trampoline that is slowly swinging side to side. You grip the handrail cables so tight your knuckles turn white. They are thick, rough, and warm from the sun, the size of a fire hose but made of braided grass. They are your only anchor. You make your way to the center, where the master is working. He is kneeling on the rough floor, his legs wrapped around the outer cables for stability. He barely acknowledges your arrival. His entire world is focused on the knot in his hands. He reaches up, grabs the handrail cable, and loops a thin cord around it. Then he pulls it down, wrapping it around the outer floor cable. He pulls it tight, incredibly tight. This is the vertical stitching. It pulls the floor up and the handrail down, creating tension. He ties it off with a swift, complex motion that looks like a magic trick. Then he moves 6 inches forward and does it again. Loop, pull, tie. Loop, pull, tie. It is a rhythm of infinite patience. There are thousands of these connections to be made. The entire length of the bridge, on both sides, must be stitched together by hand. You hand him a strip of rawhide. It is wet, slimy, and smells pungent, like a wet dog mixed with a tannery. The rawhide is a critical piece of engineering technology. As it dries in the Andean sun and wind, it will shrink. It will clamp down on the grass ropes with the force of a steel vise, locking the knots in place so they can never slip. The Incas didn't have Loctite or welding torches. They had wet leather and physics. You sit near him, waiting for the next request. You look down. This is a mistake. Between the branches of the floor and the gaps in the cables, you can see the Apari Mac River churning below. The water is a violent, milky turquoise, smashing against gray boulders the size of houses. From this height, the violence looks silent and slow motion, but the roar is ever present. It creates a sonic cushion that isolates you from the people watching on the cliffs. Out here, in the middle of the air, it is just you, the master, and the wind. The wind is a constant companion. It channels through the gorge like water through a pipe. It pushes against the bridge, making it sway in a slow, lateral arc. At first, the motion makes your stomach turn. Your inner ear screams that the ground should not be moving sideways. But after 20 minutes, your brain adjusts. You find yourself compensating automatically, leaning into the sway like a sailor on a ship. You become part of the pendulum. The master works with a terrifying casualness. He leans far out over the edge to thread a rope around the outside of the cable. For a moment, he is hanging over nothing, supported only by the friction of his thighs against the grass rope. He doesn't flinch. He doesn't look down. He trusts the structure because he built the structure. Historians sometimes debate how the ancient engineers calculated the load-bearing capacity of these bridges without written mathematics. The answer lies in the wove engineering principle. The cables are 10 times thicker than they technically need to be. The lacing is 3 times denser than required. They built with a safety factor so massive that calculation became irrelevant. If it looked strong enough to hold a giant, it was strong enough to hold a village. As the sun climbs to its zenith, the heat on the bridge intensifies. There is no shade out here. The UV rays at this altitude are brutal. You can feel the skin on the back of your neck prickling. The glare off the river below can be blinding. But the work continues. The master's hands are a blur of motion, caroused and stained green. He is sewing the canyon shut. You watch him weave the walls. This is a diagonal lattice of rope that fills the space between the floor and the handrail. It creates a net. This is the psychological safety barrier. Physically, the vertical ties are enough to hold the bridge together, but the diagonal mesh makes it look solid. It tells the brain, you are in a tunnel, not on a tightrope. It is user interface design from the 15th century. He asks for more cord. You shuffle back towards the cliff to reload. The walk back feels different now. The section you just left is tighter, firmer. The section ahead, which hasn't been woven yet, feels loose and sloppy. You can feel the difference in your feet. You are walking on the gradient of progress. On the cliff edge, the supply team is ready. They hand you fresh bundles. They offer you a ladle of water. You drink greedily, the cool liquid washing away the dust in your throat. You look back at the bridge. From here, you can see the progress visually. The center of the bridge is becoming a distinct, dark shape against the light rock, while the edges are still wispy. You go back out. The masters are now working on the matting for the sidewalls. To make the bridge truly comfortable, they weave branches and leaves into the side mesh, creating a visual block. This is crucial for the animals. A llama will not walk across a bridge if it can see the river rushing sideways below it. It freaks them out. But if you put up a wall of brush, the llama thinks it is just walking down a weird, bouncy hedge-lined path. It is an illusion of solidity for the sake of traffic flow. You help weave these branches in. It is scratchy work. The twigs snap and catch on your wool poncho. You have to weave them tight so the wind doesn't blow them out. You are essentially building a wicker basket in the shape of a tube, suspended in the sky. The soundscape out here is hypnotic. Whoosh goes the wind. Raw goes the river. Creak goes the rope. It is a constant, rhythmic drone that puts you in a trance state. You stop thinking about the height. You stop thinking about the probability of failure. You just weave. Over, under, pull. Over, under, pull. Occasionally, the master pauses to adjust the tension. He shouts to the team on the cliff, "Tighten the left handrail." The men on the shore heave on the massive pry bars. You feel the cable under your hand shudder and groan as it stretches. The floor lifts slightly. The master nods. Enough. This dynamic tuning is essential. As they add weight to the bridge, the weaving, the branches, the leather, the bridge sags. They have to keep cranking the main cables to compensate, keeping the curve perfect. It is a conversation between the builders in the center and the anchors on the edge. You notice a small bird, a blue and yellow tanager, landing on one of the handrail cables 10 feet away. It cocks its head, looking at you, then hops to a piece of the newly woven floor. It pecks at a loose seed head in the grass rope. It is the first passenger. It seems unbothered by the sway. It treats the bridge like just another branch in the forest. As the afternoon wears on, the physical toll begins to set in. Your calves are burning from the constant balancing act. Your gripping muscles are exhausted. Your lips are chapped. But there is a deep, resonant satisfaction in seeing the gaps close. The terrifying open spaces are disappearing, replaced by a sturdy, woven web. You are now working on the final section near the cliff face. The masters have met in the middle and worked their way back out. The bridge is 90% enclosed. The sensation of vertigo is gone, replaced by the feeling of being inside a long, swaying cocoon. You help tie the final knots where the grass mesh meets the stone abutments. This is a critical junction. The transition from rigid stone to flexible grass is a stress point. They use extra rawhide here, wrapping it thick and black around the anchor posts. It looks like a heavy bandage. The master stands up, or as much as one can stand up in a swaying tube, and stomps on the floor. He jumps up and down. The bridge bounces, absorbing the energy, dispersing it along the length of the cables. He grabs the handrails and shakes them violently. The structure moves as a unit. Nothing rattles, nothing slips. It is solid. He turns to you and grins. His teeth are white against his sun-darkened, weather-beaten face. He says something in Quechua that translates roughly to, "It will hold the devil himself." You gather the leftover scraps, ends of rope, broken twigs, bits of leather. You cannot leave debris on the bridge. It must be pristine. You back your way off the structure, onto the solid earth of the canyon rim. Stepping off the bridge after hours of being suspended is a physical shock. The ground feels dead. It doesn't push back. It doesn't sway. You feel heavy, like gravity has suddenly turned up the dial. You stagger a little, your sea legs betraying you on dry land. You look back at the work. The sun is beginning to dip behind the mountains, casting the gorge in long, dramatic shadows. The bridge is now a golden line slashed across the twilight. It looks complete. The messy, fringed edges are gone. The sagging loops are tightened. It looks taut, professional, and inviting. But there is one final touch. The carpet of leaves you laid down earlier needs to be secured at the edges, and the approaches need to be leveled. The transition from the dirt path to the grass deck must be seamless so that people don't trip. You grab a shovel and help pack dirt against the first layer of the bridge floor, creating a smooth ramp. The wind is picking up again, bringing the evening chill. The bridge hums in the breeze, a different sound now. Before it was a loose, rattling hum. Now it is a tight, low-frequency vibration. It sings like a cello string. The masters are the last to leave. They do a final walk through, checking every meter of the handrail, running their hands along the weave. They are looking for sharp sticks that might scratch a child, or loose knots that might unravel. They are the inspectors, and they are strict. Only when they are satisfied do they step off. The crowd on the cliffs has thinned out. heading back to the campfires for the evening meal. But a few people remain, watching the finished product. There is a quiet reverence. The bridge is not just a way to get across the river, it is a living ancestor. It is the same bridge that was here 500 years ago, reborn. By weaving it, you have woven yourself into that history. You sit on a rock near the anchor, peeling the dried mud and grass stain from your hands. Your fingers are curled into permanent claws from gripping the rope. You feel a profound exhaustion, the kind that settles deep in the marrow. But it is a good exhaustion. You watch the bridge in the fading light. It sways gently, empty now, waiting for the morning. Tomorrow is the inauguration. Tomorrow the whole world crosses. But today belonged to the weavers. Today belonged to the quiet, terrifying, beautiful work of tying knots in the sky. You think about the trust required to walk out there. You trust the grass not to break. You trust the rope maker to twist it tight. You trust the master to tie the knot. And they trust you to bring the leather. It is a chain of trust that stretches across the canyon, stronger than the grass itself. The stars come out, piercing the thin air. The Southern Cross hangs directly over the gorge, as if blessing the new span. You gather your tools. You are done. The void has been conquered, not by force, but by friction and patience. You turn and begin the slow climb back up the trail to the village, leaving the bridge to sway alone in the darkness, humming its quiet song to the river below. The morning of the fourth day arrives with a different energy. The silence of the work is gone. The tension of the engineering is gone. Today, the air is filled with music. Drums are beating a steady, heartbeat rhythm. Flutes are trilling high and bird, like notes that echo off the canyon walls. The smell of wood smoke and roasting meat drifts down from the cooking fires. Today is the festival. Today, the bridge opens. You stand at the top of the trail, looking down at the finished structure. From this height, it looks impossibly delicate, a thin golden filament connecting two massive cliffs. But you know the truth. You know the weight of the cables. You know the tightness of the knots. You know the sweat that soaked into every fiber. It is not delicate, it is resilient. The entire community, all 4 villages that contributed to the work, has gathered. There are hundreds of people dressed in their finest traditional clothing. The women wear polaras, wide skirts layered with vibrant embroidery in neon pinks, electric blues, and deep reds. Their hats are decorated with sequins and ribbons that flash in the sun. The men wear ponchos woven with intricate patterns telling the stories of their families and their land. It is a kaleidoscope of color against the dusty brown of the Andes. You join the procession down to the bridge. The path is crowded. There is laughter, shouting, and the chaotic joy of a job well done. Children dart between legs, dogs chase each other, and elders walk with solemn pride. This is not just a ribbon-cutting ceremony. It is a reaffirmation of existence. We are still here, the bridge says. We still know the old ways. At the bridgehead, the crowd parts. The Chikaruwaja, the bridge masters, stand at the entrance. They look tired but triumphant. They have exchanged their work clothes for ceremonial ponchos. They hold small bundles of coca leaves and jars of chicha. Before anyone crosses, the bridge must be fed. They pour the chicha onto the stone anchors, the liquid darkening the gray rock. They murmur prayers to the Pachamamas, Mother Earth, and the Apus, the mountain spirits. They ask for safe passage. They thank the grass for its strength. It is a moment of quiet gratitude amidst the noise. You watch them blow on the coca leaves, sending their intentions into the wind. Then the signal is given. The bridge is open. The masters cross first, just to show it's safe, though everyone knows it is. They walk with a bouncy, rhythmic step, attuned to the frequency of the structure. When they reach the other side, they turn and wave. A massive cheer erupts, a roar that rivals the river below. Now it is your turn. You get in line. The queue is long, but nobody is pushing. Everyone wants to savor the moment. When you reach the stone steps, you pause. You grip the thick, braided handrails. They are familiar to your hands now, but today they feel different. They are not just construction materials anymore. They are a finished object. They feel smooth, worn in by the master's inspections. You step onto the deck. The sensation is instantly familiar yet thrilling. The floor is soft, like a firm mattress. It gives under your boot, absorbing the impact. As you take a step, the bridge responds. It dips and sways. Because there are people ahead of you and people behind you, the bridge is alive with complex motion. It bounces vertically with the footsteps and swings laterally with the wind. You have to find your bridge legs. You cannot walk with a rigid, city pavement stride. You have to loosen your knees and hips. You have to flow. You adopt a rolling gait, surfing the waves of grass. It feels playful. It feels like the bridge is dancing with you. You look through the woven sides. The view is spectacular. The river is 100 feet down, a ribbon of white and turquoise foam. The canyon walls rise up around you, layered with time. You are suspended in the sweet spot between earth and sky. The wind rushes through the lattice of the walls, cooling your face. Midway across, you stop. This is the tradition. You pause in the center, the lowest point of the catenary curve. You feel the hum of the tension in the handrails. You look at the person in front of you and the person behind you. You smile. There is a shared secret between everyone on this bridge. We made this. You didn't buy it. You didn't hire a contractor. You went up the mountain, cut the grass, twisted the rope, and built the path. Every step you take is supported by the labor of your neighbors. It is a physical manifestation of community. If the village didn't work together, you would fall. The fact that you are standing here, hovering safely over death, is proof that cooperation works. You continue to the other side. As you step off the grass and onto the solid stone of the far abutment, you feel a strange sensation. You miss the bounce. The ground feels dead and unresponsive. You look back at the span. It is full of people now. A colorful stream of humanity flowing across the golden arc. It looks like a necklace of beads strung across the gorge. On the far bank, the party is in full swing. The music is louder here. A band is playing traditional Hueno music, high-pitched flutes, driving drums, and the strumming of carangos. People are dancing. It is a stomping, circling dance that kicks up dust. The rhythm is infectious. You find yourself tapping your foot, then clapping, then joining the circle. There is food everywhere. Massive pots of huachia, potatoes and tubers cooked in earth ovens, are being opened. The steam smells of roasted earth and sweet starch. There is corn on the cob with massive kernels, glistening with cheese. There is spicy guinea pig and endless cups of chicha. You eat greedily. You have earned it. The food tastes better because of the altitude and the effort. You sit on a grassy bank, watching the bridge. It is busy. Tourists have started to cross now, looking nervous and clinging to the rails, while local kids run past them, laughing. You see a shepherd leading a few llamas across. The animals look skeptical, sniffing the grass floor, but they trust the shepherd, so they go. Their hooves make a soft thump, thump sound on the deck. The sun begins its long descent, turning the canyon walls into gold, then orange, then deep purple. The wind picks up, but the party doesn't stop. The bridge sways in the twilight, a silent participant in the festivities. You find yourself reflecting on the impermanence of it all. This bridge you built, this massive, strong, beautiful thing, will only last 1 year. The sun will dry it out, the rain will rot it, the ropes will gray and fray, and next June you will come back here, cut it down, and watch it float away down the river. To a modern mind, this seems inefficient. Why not build a stone bridge, or a steel one? Then you wouldn't have to do this back-breaking work every year. But as you watch your neighbors dancing, you realize the point isn't the bridge. The point is the building. If you built a steel bridge, you would cross it every day without thinking. You would forget your neighbors. You would forget the river. You would forget the grass. By rebuilding it every year, you are forced to renew your bonds with each other. You are forced to remember the technology of your ancestors. You are forced to respect the landscape. The bridge is a recurring appointment with your own culture. It is a promise you keep to the past and the future. The ephemeral nature of the bridge is its strength. It cannot be neglected because it demands attention. It cannot be taken for granted because it is temporary. It is a living cycle, not a dead monument. The sky turns a deep bruised blue. The first stars appear, the Southern Cross, the llama, the eyes of the partridge. The Milky Way, which the Incas believed was a celestial river mirroring the one below, begins to glow across the heavens. The music softens. The dancing slows. People begin to drift home, their bellies full and their hearts light. You stand up, brushing the grass from your trousers. You have to cross the bridge one last time to get home. You walk to the abutment. The bridge is empty now, illuminated only by the moon. You step onto the deck. It is quiet. The wind whispers through the ropes. Hush, hush. The river murmurs below. You walk slowly, feeling the sway in the dark. It feels like being cradled. You are safe. You are held. You are connected. You reach the other side and step onto the trail. You turn back for one last look. The bridge hangs in the moonlight, a pale, silver curve smiling over the gorge. It looks like a spider web spun by a giant, benevolent spider. It is a miracle of grass. You start the climb up to the village. Your legs are tired, but your spirit is calm. You have done the work. You have kept the tradition. You have built the bridge. And next year, you will do it all again. As the last embers of the celebration fires fade into gray ash, the canyon returns to its ancient, heavy silence. The music has stopped. The dancing has ceased, and the village settles into a deep, restorative slumber. You climb into your bed, pulling the heavy wool blankets up to your chin to ward off the mountain chill. The memory of the sway remains in your body, a gentle, rocking echo that feels like being held by the earth itself. It is a sensation of perfect balance, a physical memory of floating. The village outside is silent now. The dogs have curled up in the doorways, nose to tail. The children are asleep, dreaming of the heights they conquered today. The wind that whistled through the gorge has softened into a steady, rhythmic breath, brushing against the thick stone walls of your hut. You are safe inside, grounded and warm, while the high Andean night stretches out in every direction. Think of the bridge out there in the darkness. It hangs alone over the river, a golden curve suspended in the starlight. It is no longer trembling with footsteps. It is resting. The millions of grass fibers, twisted by so many hands, are holding fast, gripping each other in the cool night air. It is a silent sentinel, a promise kept between the cliffs. The river below continues its endless, rushing journey to the sea, its roar muffled by distance into a soft, white noise hum that blankets the valley. There is nothing left to build. The harvest is done. The twisting is done. The braiding is done. The knot is tied. You can let go of the tension in your own shoulders now, just as the bridge settles into its natural curve. You are part of this cycle, secure in the knowledge that what was broken has been renewed, and what is separate has been connected. The mountains stand guard around you, blocking out the rest of the world, creating a quiet, high-altitude cradle for your rest. The stars wheel slowly overhead, marking the passage of time in a language older than stone. Everything is in its place. The bridge holds, the earth holds, and you can drift away.